Hey y'all, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Sean Charles, developer experience lead at Thesys, a wonderful generative UI company. And then we have Mark Texon, senior developer advocate at Google, doing amazing things at with the Angular team. We're going to learn a lot more about him today, but there's way too much to learn about him in this small intro. So if you are interested in doing your own research, learning more about Mark, as well as the things he's doing in the AI sphere, especially when it comes to Angular, whatever, feel free to connect with Mark. All right. So that being said, I've had lots of talks with Mark. I've met Mark probably about 3 or 4 years ago at Render ATL. It was Render 2023, I think, 2022. And caught him right after he got off the stage, saw him and Angie, was able to catch the pick. Editors will probably put the pick right there. But I love being able to connect with people, hear the things they're talking about, see his daily post today with Mark, and actually meet that person in person. And now you being able to do that virtually. Thank you so much for giving us your time, Mark. I would love to get into it. If you feel free to reintroduce yourself, as well as would love to know what you're doing today in AI.
Yeah, I actually would love to just jump into the conversation because I think you did a really generous job introducing me, bro. Like you're a real one. But yeah, so right now I think the space is so interesting. So speaking of render, this is actually a great segue. Speaking of render, I think it was at 2023 talk where I did the Dougie on stage. I kind of like warned everybody that like the AI like influence was going to change the way that we did work. And I was trying to tell everybody like, hey, like this is your time, get involved because things are about to change. There was only one thing that I was wrong about. Only one thing I was wrong about, and that was the timing.
Mm,
I thought we probably had 2 more years from today before we got to where we are today with AI in the AI
mhm.
workflow. I thought we had about 2 extra years. So I thought around 2026, 2027, we'd be really exploring a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about today. So I was off on the time, but I wasn't wrong about the shift. I told
Mm.
everybody my spidey senses were tingling and that we were in for a shift very similar to when we went from back end code to front end engineering being a discipline, and now we're in the age of the AI engineer, which is really fascinating right now.
I absolutely love it. Yeah, this is going so fast. It feels like if you're not caught on what's going on today, they're already talking about the next thing tomorrow.
That's
Um,
right.
like the thing we're talking about today is maybe not even a trending topic today anymore. I always say the second people are making these wonderful infographics, the blogs, all this other stuff, the trend's already gone, the industry's already onto the new shiny thing. But I honestly was on exactly with you on this trend about 3 years ago, when we could see API integrations becoming easier to make. It's I know other people have different jobs. I understand software is super big, but like almost all of my job is API integrations and understanding how two APIs integrate,
Sure.
and those updates. Like in my world, everything's an API. It's just how low are you going. So anyway, broader topic. But when it comes to MCP, being able to very quickly get data, period. I don't care what the data is, whether you're transforming, whether you're sending out a query, whether you're sending out a packet, being able to boom, data, like is it's like gold. Like when you're trying to get something off the ground, whether it's a feature, whether it's a project, whether you're even just starting to learn how to code, being able to instantly get data is amazing. I was amazed when I could get Postman, something that made API integrations a lot easier. They gave me one URL. I can instantly get all of those things. Sounds very familiar. I get one URL and then it gives me a bunch of tools or API endpoints. Sounds very familiar. So I was
Spot on.
absolutely amazed when I saw ChatGPT giving us a standard 3 or 4 years ago, and I was absolutely saddened when the custom GPT store never happened. We never like had an actual open standard that I could connect any API to ChatGPT. Never happened. I don't even know if it still has it. Like I looked for an easy add button so I could add an MCP server. If they have it, then it's only for the $200 plus people.
Mm,
Very saddened because that's what I was in it for. One connection to Zapier, one connection to I don't know your email. Like some of the basics immediately opens up like almost the whole world to AI agents, as well as that AI chatbot. So I'm wondering, especially where we're at Google, where you have all of the data, all of the access. I'm wondering what are y'all doing on your end when it comes to like API integrations. I would love to hear some MCP stuff, but I know on the back end, these things are so hard to move fast when you're an organization. Like I have a small startup team, is not Google sized, and I already know there's red tape going into anything, so I can't even imagine. I can't a little imagine I was at Amazon, but I can't even imagine what your team could look like, being able to have all of these things going on. So I'm wondering what are y'all doing when it comes to MCP API integrations? Would love to
yeah,
hear.
that's a great question. So you got to think about, so Google's a very large organization, and we have really significant AI like chops. You know what I mean? Like the whole idea of the GPT, transformer came out of a paper out of Google. So like Google's like ingrained with this idea. So I can speak to the Angular team and how we're looking at it, because like MCP servers in general are like,
Yeah.
so at the lower level, there's this idea of like function calling, right? Because everybody just cannot deal with this idea. You got these chatbots that can't do anything. That is the worst feeling in the world when you're like on an airplane, not like a airlines app, and you're like talking to a chat bot, and you're like, okay, just change my seat. And it's like, I can't do that. I can only route you to the right person. That is infuriating that
Yeah.
the chat bots can't take any action. So then at the lower level, if you think about like tool or function calling as this way of like, okay, giving those chat bots or those models some powers, MCP creates a standard where you can expose like resources and functions and tools. So think about from a framework point of view what the possibilities are, right? So think about the type of data we could expose through an MCP server for Angular, whether it be project information or like maybe something like analytics, like all kind of ideas. So we are totally doing stuff with that. I've been streaming, live streaming on the Angular YouTube channel, like diving into AI stuff, and that story is continuing. And we got some stuff cooking up. I can't tell you all over the course because it's like pretty exciting, and there's some surprises coming soon. But from the Angular team, like we're taking this very seriously
Yeah.
because, like you mentioned before, the speed at which things are changing, it's like, I just remember specifically thinking about running models as like the bar, right? Can you
Yeah.
run a model? Do you know what a model is? That was the bar like 8
Yeah.
months ago. And now the bar is like, then the bar moved to like, okay, can your model call functions? Now the bar is like MCP servers. Now people are talking about, well, what about agent to agent communication? What, you know what I mean? And it's abstracting and it's going so fast. So like, yeah, MCP though is having a really special moment right now. And I think that developers, if I were a developer right now, I would be totally thinking about from two ways. Think about what use could you get from a MCP server, right? Like with your agents, and then thinking about what use could you provide to agents by creating your own MCP servers, right? Like those are two different things, and you kind of get to decide which side you're going to be on. But if I had to guess for you right now, like I don't like to give people too prescriptive of a plan, but I would say like kind of learn both, right? Because that's just like the flow that we're finding ourselves moving into.
I 100% agree, and I'll try my best to like quickly show y'all a little bit of both. Using some tools really quickly in 60 seconds, you could make an MCP server, pull up an API, generate some database, do some queries, all that good jazz, and make an open MCP server. I love that because in this day and age, it's getting to that point where it is a button press. If I didn't find that tool that automatically generated a database and an MCP server, I would have to go find some tools that and podge them together to do that function. So having something, I don't know, like MCP or like whatever that automates some API integrations is basically all of my job. Not anymore, but at least used to be almost all of my job. Unfortunately, when you do your job well, they give you more jobs.
They give you more jobs. That's right. They give you more work. When you do, without going too far on a tangent, I remember I got stuck in a role before in my career where I was so good at that job. You know what I mean? And like
Love.
they were like, okay, we want you to do more of this, right? Like do more and more and more. And I was just like, no, but I want to work on something else. Like, no, 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 no. Don't be too good at this. We can't lose you at this thing. That's an interesting place to be as in a career point of view. But yeah, no, I think people learning about MCP servers, and I love what you talked about, the idea that like creating them is not like a hot. Okay, so think about this, Sean, and I want to hear your feedback on this idea. We are in this really special moment where 2 years ago, if you had brought up an MCP server,
Yeah.
the first thing you probably would have told everybody is here's the URL to go look at some documentation on how to like learn about the MCP server, how to create it, how
Wow.
to write all the code. And like now you just described some like low effort ways to create an MCP server.
Yeah.
Like think about the moment that we're in where
Yeah.
that level of abstraction is available. That is like bananas. And then even if you didn't want to like click one button, I will be totally comfortable like myself being like, okay, Gemini, I want an MCP server, direct me to the right way. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just getting started, like because I know what I want and I know what it is, right? I know
Yeah.
what's happening. I don't know. Anyway, man, I just think that's just such a special moment that we're in.
Yeah, we're moving so fast. At least I always tell people it's still a bubble. I try to remind people I'm saying lots of words, and there's gonna be people in the chat. Please, if you're in the chat and there's words that you're not understanding, please put it in the chat. Mark and I will probably definitely be looking through it throughout the days and weeks. So if you had questions, if you didn't, you needed help, we have lots and lots of forums, lots of Discord servers, lots of Slacks, but also real life people sitting right here who are willing to take a couple of seconds and help. So if y'all didn't understand anything we were talking about, please do. We'll provide links, resources, all that good jazz. All right, I'm just gonna keep going because I'm very much interested in more what people are doing on the UI front.
Mhm.
For the smallest bit of background, people, I work at a generative UI company, so we work basically on front end agents that don't necessarily give you data, but visualize that data as UI, something that we can interface with. So think all of the wonderful chat GPT generations is going to be 5 paragraphs. That's cool and all, but theoretically, if I was making a website or something online, I wouldn't have just spat out 5 paragraphs at them. There's almost no instance in which I think it would be acceptable for me to spit out 5 paragraphs at them in like just one paragraph tag. No, that's going to be terrible. Like you should,
Mhm.
I don't know, use an interface.
Mhm.
Maybe something very much the Angular team would be aware about, making an interface for these things, because theoretically you could have a front end layer that said, hey, this 5 paragraphs, maybe this could have been a carousel, maybe this could have been an image, maybe this could have been a form. Like at the end, you asked, does this make sense? That's a question. Usually, when we're asking people questions on the internet, we give them a form, we give them an input. Like we
Mm,
don't necessarily, like, that's not how we would visualize this 5 paragraphs on the internet. Can we give UI some tool? Can we give AI some tools like UI to visualize what it should have like given us to communicate on the internet?
and
So yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and think about what the really interesting opportunity here is with generative UI. Like, I love the example of the 5 paragraphs, 'cause that kinda goes back to, like, the airplane app, like, that we were talking about, the airlines app. Like, getting this, like, description of what's happening versus an action that I can perform in the interface that I am accustomed to as a user, like, change my seat. I want you to return me, like, a list of open seats and something I can tap, and then something I can click OK or confirm, right? And like the generative AI space, like serves that need. But I want to know more about if, where Thesis is around this, what you're thinking. I just keep thinking about serving like users who are disabled. Like I just
Yes.
keep thinking about like disabled users getting a custom UI that meets their needs. Like that's so interesting to me.
Uh,
Like show me that demo one day. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing I want to see
and
from the
hear
people.
me out. There's already something that I could show you.
Stop
Um,
playing. See, that's what I like.
yes. So not only is there something I could show you, like we could build that out in a weekend. Like we could like I just was at a hackathon telling them that like, hey, I just don't have time. I could try and vibe code it, but like I just don't have time.
Yeah.
But like sitting with another engineer who could get some of the thing to actually set up a browser that actually works correctly. I could set up the API that'll grab the HTML and then serve up some of the UI on demand. That's something easily we've been doing, and we've actually taken the next step using some diffusion models, trying to make it so that it's not only lightning fast, sub milliseconds. We need to be able to generate that page. If you have any latency, like you're going to feel that on load on any page load up. So having that speed of like a diffusion model that's also cost effective. It's literally something we've already demoed. We have stuff of it. It's just like we could build it. It's just going to be expensive. It's going to take me engineering time. They'd have to
Yeah,
let me
sure,
do
sure.
it.
Yeah, but I think that's something worth us, find some more time to do when is,
Yep.
to make the right time for it, because I think that pushing people. So I'll put it like this: when it comes, the reason I always bring up accessibility and serving disabled users,
Yep.
I have yet to find a time where we built for more people
Yep.
that everyone didn't benefit from, right? Like when I first had my son, I remember not never understanding curb ramps because I'm able-bodied. I could always step up on a curb until I had a stroller. Until I had a stroller, I'm like, wow, so this was designed for people with wheelchair mobility, like tools, but it made everybody's life better, right? And it's just like the same thing with software and AI. Like that's a very interesting niche. If people are thinking about like, oh, AI, how could it help people? This is where you can start to think about where it could help people, where you start to design applications that
Yep.
serve communities. Like this is how you create the next thing that like, you know, gives AI even more purpose. You know what I
And
mean?
I'm gonna tell you straight up, I'm here making the demos, but I'm hoping that in Amazon, Google takes this on, because you have the data and context to make that type of thing happen. Like to be
Mm,
able to know that this person is in fact disabled. In order for me to do that, I now have to do another browser. I have to do those things because I like
mhm.
the opt in of, hey, this person is disabled. But theoretically, with these cookies, if I had some Amazon or Google type intelligence, maybe I could put in the context to know that this user needed a more accessible web page. Could
Yeah.
we have on the fly made that
Mhm.
user and this page accessible for them. I already know we can. I'm
Yeah,
just hoping a Google type that could afford to snap and make the world a better place will, because they do it all the time. Shout out to Google Docs. Shout out to all of the products that do in
sure.
fact make the world a better place. So hoping, well, that's already happening. I already seen a generative UI interface being made by Google at one of the conferences.
Hmm.
So y'all aren't behind. It's just about like manpower, willpower, as well as finding the initiative money wise. I always find like if I can't make this make sense for our signups, it makes no sense for me to spend the weekend building this
Right,
browser that I think will
right,
change the
right, right.
world. But JavaScript needed to be made. So shout out to the guy who did that on the weekend one day.
Oh,
Um,
Brandon, I think Brandon Ike or something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
we need to shout out to him a little bit more often. But
Yeah, but even so, like I said, I just like this idea of something to work toward. You know what I mean? I just love this idea of like, man, we can work toward building something that serves everybody, helps everybody. I'm like, why not? Like, and the community jumps in, and we're all building better applications
uh,
that serve more users. So yeah,
listen,
no, it's
it
great.
seems like we're already here into the technical. I should just give y'all the 60-second demo
Go
since
for it. Let's do it. I
if
want to
we're
see it.
talking about it. All right, let's jump on in. Let's see if we could just jump straight into the demo. Are you still here, Mark? You
I'm
are
still here.
here. Let's customize your size so we can get you a
Yeah.
little smaller, Mark.
The
All
people
right.
want to see the demo. They don't want to see me, right? Like,
Exactly. I feel you. They never want to see us. They always want the tech. But all right, y'all, the tech is here. All right, so y'all are probably very comfortable with this screen. It is a chat bot. And I'm wondering, Mark, what do you usually use these chat bots for? What do you usually trying out? Well,
oh, good question.
what would a prompt be that you would actually put in?
Honestly, normally my prompts right now are like a lot of utility prompts. Like I'll drag an image in, and then I'll be like, "Hey, can you give me alt text for this image?" Like I do that type of stuff.
You give me all text for this image. It doesn't really matter what the prompt is.
Okay, okay,
Can you give
cool,
me
cool.
alt text for this image? So I don't see any image attached to please share the image. No image. I don't see any image attached. Pretty much similar. And the
Mm,
reason why we're getting a similar is because just like ChatGPT, it needs context. It needs to know what are you looking for? Did you want this in a carousel? Did you want this in a form? Like if I said, "Can you give me all text of this image?" and only answer in forms. These are things that you would be doing on the back end of your application, rather than just being these things. Uh, this obviously not exactly what I was looking for. But C1 gives us an actual form that we could have uploaded the actual image. Doesn't really matter, and it would have generated some
wait,
alt
why did it
text.
give you an image description? That's what we're trying to get, the image description.
Oh, I don't know. I apologize, but I cannot process or generate alt text for any thesis. Oh yeah, because now it's saying, hey, this is thesis. We can't give you any context on that. But do note it knew what it was going on, what was going in,
Uh,
and then decided, hey, we can't do this. But realize I did no integrations. I did not add the
mhm.
ability to like add files. I did none of that. That was all basic UI stuff that allowed that possibility that I could still generate the alt text. Like we could still get to the thing we were trying to do, even if this is clearly not. Claude would have obviously failed. I could ask for some code for a form and then ask it to render that form. Like we could have went through the steps. But being able to literally just tell it, hey, make it so that the user can interface with you. And it does. Like that is it. Let's see if it'll actually do.
Hey.
Let's see if it'll actually do something. I can't actually see the content of the image. Because I didn't add any MCP servers. So theoretically, you could add an MCP server that allows it to read that image. But baseline, it does not have access. but it did everything up to like literally trying to generate like the alt text. So like using something like this and MCP, I could easily, very quickly generate something that is already usable, like theoretically by that end end customer. So here's the playground. So
Mm.
the uh, that was an awesome use case. Right now, I'm working with CoinGecko. We have a CoinGecko MCP server. So let me show you what that looks like. CoinGecko looks like this. Exactly what you were saying before, a doc with a URL. And I
Mhm.
copy the URL and I go back to the playground. Oh, and for those who are wondering and want to follow on this demo, because I completely forgot, please feel free to try the generative UI application right there. I try my best to not over, no over explain. Like I try to show, don't tell. Like here, like go play. Uh,
Sure.
I know y'all will find all this stuff out a lot better than I. Give me 1 second. I'm so sorry, y'all. You try your best to get all the technical stuff ironed out, and we're back on it. Wonderful playground, easily accessible. It's literally so that you can try out new MCP servers. So new CoinGecko MCP, and you paste in the URL and some description. It'd be great if you did more than just what I just did. And it'll just instantly give you all of the tools that CoinGecko made, whether it be get asset profiles, get list coins. I don't really care about any of them, so I'm just gonna click
Wait,
through.
wait, wait. Slow down for a second, bro.
Okay,
You're showing a lot of magic right now.
okay.
And I just want to talk through like some of this magic with the people because this is like amazing.
Yes, y'all don't know how long it would take me to make an actual API integration into CoinGecko to get
Exactly.
some data and actually render it on the screen.
That was exactly the point that I was about to make. I'm like, you saw all those tools that were available and how we used to. I mean, your original like kind of conversation around like API data integration, right?
Yup.
Like being the way, and it's just like what we used to have to like do so much work to make this happen. And now someone is like standardized a new interface because I haven't really seen MCP servers for things like just straight up data return. You know what I mean? I've seen
Um,
it in the context of I use the MCP server to perform some action and then I get the result of that action, right? So let's say if you're
um,
going to do like, oh, let's create a component. Well, the MCP server knows how to create a component using the Angular tooling, then I can return that component like status back to you. But like from an API, this is so smart, right? Because now your agents, if you're CoinGecko, anybody has an agent can now use all these tools that have the descriptions and the names. That's wild. Sorry, I'm just
yup.
nerding out over how wild this is.
It's crazy because I was mind blown about this a decade ago with Postman and wondering
Yeah,
why isn't everybody talking about this one website where I could get basically all of the data in the world. Some people are even just scraping the data and giving it to me as an API endpoint. Like yeah, that's a thing you could go out and see. So if people don't know that and haven't checked out some MCP servers, check out open ones like the CoinGecko. This is completely free. You just copy that URL, no keys required,
no
and
keys.
no keys required. That's the whole point. Is that if I have to do a password, if I have to do an API key or an integration, you're slowing me down. I just needed the data. I just needed the data. If you could, if you're a, a website like CoinGecko and you have the money to be able to at least give some data for free, I understand it costs money to give data, but
Sure.
like it's like pennies. Like you could set this up for dollars on the per year. Like it's very small for a coin gecko. In order for me, a developer, to be able to instantly build on your platform, like that's so much money that's potentially going in your pocket, rather than me checking out whatever other Bitcoin service or understand any other MCP. This was the easiest MCP that I happened to see instantly, like CoinGecko.
Uh-huh.
Like it's not like let's find the best MC. No, this was easy. It's open. There's a link right there. They advertise. Like that's how easy it
Mm.
is if you also had something that was as accessible as this CoinGecko MCP server.
So
So
would you say that, like, for developers out there who are new to what we're talking about, are you saying that, like, they should be mindful that all MCP servers are not created equal?
correct. So understand, I am going to show you how to make one, but it's the same thing as an API endpoint. There are lots of API endpoints that are giving you Pokemon data, like the Poke API. It's
Yeah.
completely free. You could get any Pokemon data, but there are other APIs that resolve around Pokemon data that you would need an API key for, because they're probably doing some transformations. They're probably doing some query updates, probably cost a little bit more. It's not just a query parameter. In those cases, dang it, when there's a knock on your door and it completely throws off your uh, train of thought. Why is that? Lost it. Lost it, Mark.
Yeah,
Lost.
no, so you were telling us about, like, how the different types of data, so you got the Poke data, for example, right?
Boom. Correct. So just like APIs, uh, when you uh, when you query that, they could just be giving you the data. They could be doing transformations. They could be sending queries. Like when you query, I don't know, Twitter, they're gonna ask, "Hey, do you even have access?" They're gonna ask API. Lots of things are gonna happen in the back end, but there are some endpoints where all they do is send you data, like just a string, completely fine, uncomplicated. I don't know if that's this, because clearly there's a lot. There's probably some endpoints that are doing like some actual work. Search for pools on a network. I don't know if that's complicated, but it might be. But the point is, it could be as complicated or as not complicated as you deem fit. Showing
Yeah.
you how you could make this a specific trigger on any, like you could have this trigger another MCP. It triggers, I don't know, my MCP to go get the coin data, or my MCP to solve upload the data into a database, specifically the people who owe me money, or something like that. Uh, each of these interfaces, each of these transactions, each of these interactions is either a function call, a tool call, or an API integration I'm manually setting in here. Um,
And this is
so
rad. This is just so rad. Okay, keep showing us more, Sean, because you got
cool.
me locked in, bro.
Perfect. So
I'm
now we
ready to
got
roll.
that. You could do some cool things. I had some prompts already here, like what's the current price of Bitcoin, and use labels. Show me the top gainers and losers as a carousel. What's the 24-hour trend for Bitcoin? Use an area chart, and like show me the top 10 cryptocurrencies by market cap. Show as a pie chart. So
Oh.
basically, I'm trying to get a dashboard, and it's going to go in and grab as many tool calls, because each of those questions are specific tool calls in the Bitcoin interface. And did I even turn on the tools? I did. Everything is good. And let's restart that just in case the
Yeah.
problem is turning on, active, and the prompts are good. And I should get a nice dashboard, because it was doing the tool calls clearly. But the question is, was I having network issue just now? I might have had a network issue. But hear me out. Some of these tool calls, because there's so much context, sometimes one of the tool calls fails, and there's not enough fail safe that once the thing hits a failure, it'll just give you a failure screen because that's what it's used to giving when it hits a failure.
Yo, look at that output.
And all of it is accessible. You can actually see the actual prices. Like, and if I had clicked on something, it would like drill down. So like, let's say we wanted to learn more about specifically Solana. Solana. Okay. Usually those are accessible. But the drill down definitely works if it had given me a button for that. I could have asked for it, but I didn't ask for it.
But like this is just generated based on the data versus you getting those 5 paragraphs.
Correct. This is all straight live from the CoinGecko servers. The top gainers, the top losers. You'll notice it's all black and white because we don't want to necessarily invoke style. We have like customizations like file theme sheets that you can inject your own to basically make this your own like thing, as well as the charts. There's an upgraded chart version. These are actually our outdated ones. But lots of things like that. So like theoretically, my dad could have gotten one where the text is bigger. It's obviously light mode, and maybe this was way too much. They knew he just needed this. The top gainers and the top losers. He didn't need all of this, so it just gave him this. And doing that on command and even moving away from the components. I think, can I find that super quick? We have let's see if I could just type in example and get there. I can. And let's see if I have specifically the component, standalone C1 component, and you didn't put the image up there. Okay. But anyway, there are custom components. So theoretically right now, the chat is driving this. So like you see a chat interface and I'm like talking to it. But theoretically, those buttons work. Like the buttons that it generates works. Like you could ask it at each interface, always give me a button to continue.
Yeah.
And like instantly, and matter of fact, let me just keep it exactly the same. It's just going to take longer.
But which is expected because right now, I think for users, they're learning new patterns of interactions with LLMs. So I don't think anybody freaks out if something is like inaccurate or like slower to respond because they understand that there's like more processing going, like they've been trained in this process.
Yeah, and hear me out, y'all. I'm asking a lot from this one. I'm asking for in one prompt to do 5 tool calls and a tool call to C1. I'm clearly overburdening it. It's saying, hey, theoretically, if I was engineering this, each of these would be its individual tool call, and Claude and C1 will have no problem giving me individual ones. But yeah, do check it out. It's probably still working for y'all, and I just have to refresh my screen. But yeah, easy. You just copy and paste the URL. There's already web search, image search, weather ingrained. I'll go over lots of open ones, but the biggest one I wanted to show everyone, if y'all can still see me, is Xano. I'm going to have a lot more things with Xano. Please just be one click. Of course it's not one click. It's never just one click. They never want me to be able to just quickly log in. It's never easy. All right, so something like Xano.
Tell me about. I'm not familiar.
Xano is at least in my opinion, one of the fastest ways to make an API, to make a backend, uh, anything, and the quickest way to make an MCP server.
Oh, let's
So
go.
hear me out. For those who are looking to make a database, you could theoretically this could have been empty. You could have clicked add table, and great if you wanted to import data. I was just gonna, and it's cool if you wanted to enter data, but there is an even quicker way. Um, there is, where's the button? Now that I have all of the things already set up, there's not an easy, like, where's the home create a database button? Because in the beginning there was just a like create a database button, and from a query it generated all of these things. um Let me see, where is that? Boom, of course, and you can import the data. But I'm looking for the generate button. Let's see if we could just add API group dashboard, um create an MCP server. This is always the tragedy of starting a demo and the things are already made. So I can't see where is the button. I have it like videotaped. Um, all right, I'm just gonna run from here because it seems without like deleting all of my things, I might as well just do that. Oh, boom, database assistant. Thank you, because I'm pretty sure
Wow.
I just talked to something.
This is
Can
bananas
you
in a
create
good way.
some database templates for me?
Hmm.
I need a Pokemon database.
What I really like about what you're even showing, I know there are lots of developers out there who are really concerned about displacement due to AI tooling.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, looking at this, I get a lot of excitement about what we'll be able to create, right? Like because of the like superpowers that we get to get from AI. And I know that might sound a little bit biased because I work at Google. I'm just telling you what I think honestly. Like think about all the apps that you've wanted to create that you're just like, yo, I don't have the time, but like these assistants can help you. Like, are you kidding me? Just so
With
much
the button
opportunity.
right there too, create table.
Boom,
Table created.
boom.
And I go back to the database and then there's a Pokemon table.
But guess what? I don't feel like my experience as an engineer is at any way invalidated. You know why? Because I can read that table schema.
We had to do all of this. Like,
Right.
understand there's so much engineering that goes past the API integration. Like, that's just the first step. Like, getting things to work,
Yeah.
it's hard, but it's still just the first step.
That's the
First,
first
you got to
step.
get it done. Now you have to get it right. Like,
That's right. That's right. So like just understanding that even what was created. So let's say that it created the schema and it wasn't the right schema.
you
Who determines what's right and what's wrong? I think I do because I'm the developer and I get to decide like, oh no, this isn't in line with what I wanted, or why is this column a varchar instead of a, you know what I mean? Like
exactly.
something else. You know what I
I
mean? So
feel
like,
you.
yes, those skills are not invalidated by the creation of tools like this. I see it as like, man, I get to get more. I get to get closer to the fidelity of the vision that I had for this app, whatever the
Yeah.
app is, and I
And
think that's special.
it's so amazing. Like, I know that a lot of people are scared because they see these things. I am amazed, and I want to use the new calculator to do math that I could never have done before.
That's right. You got to be in it to win it, though. Like I've been telling people, like the reason I don't avoid AI stuff in general is because I feel like I want to be in the like influence of the direction of things,
Yeah,
and I can't influence anything that I don't know about. So I got to know what's happening.
exactly. Boom. So for those who didn't follow, after it generated the table, and the schema for the table, I generated actual records,
Let's
actual
go.
database, and records, actual text, actual inputs into the table. All right, now that we have this,
Wait, how much time did you spend searching the internet for some sample data?
zero.
Zero. Zero.
Zero. We press the button and boom, and now we could actually test this endpoint. So we go back to the dashboard. There's a button that says create an MCP server tool. We add an MCP server. We create a name for it. Let's call it Mark Pokemon,
Let's go.
and then Mark's Pokemon. Obviously, y'all be nice to alt text and put in good descriptions, not like me.
That's right. Because I'll teach you when you teach me. Pokemon, gotta catch
Yeah.
'em all.
Boom. And now that we have it, you already have the URL, and we go
Wait, so it
straight.
hosts your MCP server as well?
Correct. It's already live with the URL.
Oh, okay. I want to. So listen, friends at home, if you're watching this and you're like, "Why is Mark so amazed at every little thing that Sean does?" Let me explain to you why I'm so amazed by this. Because I feel like it was just like 6 weeks ago that we started to adopt MCP as a standard, and people started to get like broad adoption. And now here we are, like 6 weeks later, and tools like this exist that you can dynamically generate an MCP. Not only dynamically generate, but dynamically generate and host an MCP server. That is just mind blowing to me.
Yup.
Like, I just
It,
wrote one last week. I literally just wrote an MCP server last week, and it was very straightforward to do. It wasn't even hard. But the fact that I was just writing it, and I was using Gemini Code Assist to help, like smooth out the like schema creation, because I'm like, oh, I
yup.
gotta write Resod, and I'm like, okay, fine, I can do
Yup.
it. But I was just like, look, I'll make this faster because I know what I want to happen, right? And
Yup.
now Sean is like, look, hold my Coke Zero,
Yup.
bro.
Didn't need to do all that. We literally auto generate all of that, and then you could play with the actual API. So
Oh,
now
let's
that we
go.
have an MCP server, where was that? Where did that just go?
MCP as an API as an API integration is so fascinating to me.
Yeah, mark Pokemon, and then one of the things we have to do is connect the tool. So we have to
Yeah,
tell it, hey, what do you want it to do? I have some tools there. I'm going to show you how to make a tool.
make a tool, bro.
So let's go down to like API, and theoretically, there's supposed to be a like a menu here.
I gotta
Oh
update
no.
my recommendations for people because they're gonna say, "What do I do?" Like if you're starting today, okay.
Yeah.
So, well, I'll let you finish this part, but I think that with the time we have left, I would love to have like a real conversation with you about just like what do you tell a developer who's starting today?
Mm, boom. We'll get into that. Give me
Yeah,
30 more seconds to
go
finish
for it,
this
brother.
up.
Go for it. Go for it.
Tool
I'm
calls,
cooking right now.
we add a tool call. And I would like to note, please check out the demo because this isn't even the part of the demo. Like this is the creating an MCP server
Right.
101. If y'all haven't created an MCP server, it is absolutely super stupidly easy. Please go check it out. Get Mark Thompson. It doesn't really matter what the name of this is, but get Pokemon. But this is a tool call.
Wait. Can you keep going? But is it gonna look at your description and figure out what to do?
I mean, it could. I could
Okay,
ask
but
it
what you gonna
to
tell it?
figure it
Okay,
out,
keep going. Yeah.
but theoretically, you want to have more control. So
Okay.
you can tell it what inputs you wanted to give it. Like what did this take? Does it take an ID and we like check the
Yeah.
ID for a query? What type of response did you want? Did you want a response in a specific format? And what did you want to do in between? Did you want to do any functions? Did you want to do a database request? Did you want to do any manipulation, math and stuff? Do we have to do some auth, some security, some tokens? How about an API integration? Let's try that out. AI tools. Maybe we need to call an GitHub action or like a Lambda or something, or maybe just a custom function. We could just write some, JavaScript or what have you right there, or any of the other things like connected to an actual AWS cloud service or any of the other crazy stuff you could do. I love all of this. we're just going to query all records and we're going to go get this Pokemon data. And that's it. We're going to save and and apparently publish.
Yeah, publish. Yeah, I would say that button's nice and green to let you know that publishing is the next step.
Pokemon done. Publish. All right. And that is it. I have to actually go and attach it to the agent. So we had a bunch of MCP servers. I actually had to connect the tool. So we wanted
What
to
if it connects to an agent? What does that
correct.
do?
So theoretically, you could have now that you have an MCP server, you could have something like that is running outside of that. That's automating tasks and answering, like using some of the tool
Oh,
calls and
sure.
the stuff you use. So it's kind of an outside, like it's the next steps. Now that you have a bunch of MCP servers and a bunch of tool calls, theoretically, you can make a loop where it does a bunch of stuff in
Yeah.
agent. So we're just here for those who haven't made an MCP server before. Make your first one, make a tool call, connect that tool call to the MCP server, and now theoretically you should be able to copy that connection URL and head back to Thesys.
Mm.
Boom, and you could add the MCP server. Get Mark info.
Wow.
Yeah, Mark.
Head back to Thesys and do this.
Boom. Oh no.
What
Not
happened?
them. They were updating stuff. Let's see if the stream one works. This is what happens when on the back end you're updating stuff. Let's
Oh,
see.
sure.
Let's actually refresh it. It might just be my network right this second. Because they're always playing with stuff, never giving me a actual stable version. Okay. And the streamable. Okay, let's do one more thing. Let's try one more thing. All right. When this happens, it's usually a playground thing.
Check the SSE again, or SCC. I can't really see that text, but at the selection on the transport type, because then you change it to that one, yeah. And then in your configuration, you have streamable HTTP selected. Yeah, let's see if that does anything. That might not do anything, but
no. All right. So
all
that
right.
being said, hear me out. I have backups on backups. I don't know if y'all will be able to see it. When this happens, it's usually a configuration thing at the top.
Yeah.
I can pull it down and show you how to do that, but I think that's a little further than we wanted to go with this demo.
Sure.
I'm going to give y'all access to maybe the Discord where I hang out. If y'all wanted to take next steps, maybe pull down a repo. It's super quick. I'm literally just going to paste that into an actual code that's living on your computer. It has some auth stuff that I already know this is an auth thing. It's not liking that. It's an external thing that I just deployed. So if you've deployed on your own side, you'll be able to use that link automatically getting that data. And here's one that I know was already working. I erased it. I think it's this one. Yeah, this is the one that's already working, but it's the same. It's gonna look exactly like the CoinGecko demo because I'm
Sure.
updating demo. But yes, Xano is literally what I've been using so far to automatically generate MVP databases, MCP servers, as well as make those tool calls almost instant. Hopefully y'all liked. Check out the playground. It's super fun being able to not only build a use case for me. I like to think of it allows you to be able to build a use case at scale for people. So like I always think there's not necessarily way I see it is usually accessibility is the last thing, because it's not necessarily the product. But I'm hoping this is the product. Like UI is about accessibility,
Mm-hmm.
and thinking about how uh, you need different information than I need, even if we're going to the same page, even if we're going like doing the same thing as two humans, we have a different user experience when we have UI when we're looking at a page. So knowing that we should also have a different UI for everyone. Like why will we have the same UI for someone who didn't need the same thing that MarkTechson needed?
That's
Uh,
right. That's right. Mm-hmm.
so we're already there. It's just about how far are we going to go in the next year? Like how many people are going to adopt something like this where you could generate on the fly some of the UI instead of
Yeah.
hard coding a lot of it. And I know the Googles and the Amazons of the world are already moving in that direction, thinking
Mm-hmm.
of like Facebook, if it didn't have a billion buttons, if it had maybe 3 buttons and didn't confuse everyone, maybe there'd be more users there. But because there's a billion buttons and I'm never going to press any of them, maybe you figure out which buttons the user at least you're talking to is going to press, and like get all of the noise out of the way. But just my thoughts on platforms and UI. But I would love to learn more about your thoughts, Mark. Seeing this, seeing the age we're going, see how easy it is to make an API integration, backend
Mm-hmm.
database queries, as well as visualizing it on the screen, real time, on demand for users, rather cheaply as well. It's getting cheaper. We need it to be cheaper, obviously, but it's getting really cheap. Um, well, what are your thoughts, MCP and generative UI? What's good, Mark?
Yeah, so I think what's really now kind of moving to the forefront of my mind in terms of like priorities for researching, growing your like developer skills. I think that this is your opportunity kind of to be a part of the future, like right now, right? Like the future's being kind of the future's always being built in the moment, but like some things aren't like meant for like long term, right? Like yeah, this ain't gonna last. This is just a fad, or this is like something that we're not gonna keep up with. I think that when it comes to I think generative UI is the future, meaning like now. I think learning how to do that is interesting. I think MCP servers, like I said, I had never really thought of them as a API for like
Mm,
data. That's just a very different use case. And that
mm.
sells me even more on the idea that MCP may become a foundational like technology for AI development.
I love that. I love that take because I've always thought that. And every time I say it, people are like, oh, I never thought of it that way. I'm like, what other way is there to think about it? Like it's an API endpoint and you could do stuff with it, like whatever that is, data manipulation, data gathering, you could do whatever. It's just
Yeah.
compute. So like it's super interesting. I'm loving that people are actually, standardizing this so that I don't have to write another API integration. I would love
Yeah.
for that to not be a thing, but
I mean, but I also think that like the data through MCP, I mean, it's just a layer of abstraction, right? Like
yeah,
so there's
exactly.
nothing special there because you could also ask your agent to make an HTTP request and get the JSON data in the same way, right?
Yeah,
But there's something about the discoverability of MCP that is different than your traditional APIs. Like, for example, with an MCP server, you can ask it, what tools do you have available, right? And if you can do that, then your agent can then have other interesting questions to ask next, interesting follow ups, right? And so it's just
yeah.
this idea that, like, I don't know. I just think the world is your oyster, so to speak. And I think that a lot of people are still on the fence about because it's really hard to know what to pick right now in terms of like where you are. I think most developers are still on the sidelines looking in. Some
Yeah.
of them are a little bit more like, ooh, this might be for me, but there's still a pretty large contingent of people who are just like, ooh, I don't know what's gonna happen, so I'm not gonna do anything. And it's like, no, 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 no. Don't do that. Like, right, like make a choice and like get involved, because the opportunities here are like, they're really cool opportunities for you to help decide what the future is, because
Yeah.
maybe you know the next level of protocol, the next level of abstraction, right? Like as an engineer that's just waiting on the side to figure out what to do next. Yeah, I think this whole space, I've been in on AI, like I said, since I gave that talk at Render, and I want to continue to be in on it. Now, before I run out of here, I want to ask you this question. If I'm an engineer who's like, you know what, I just heard from Sean, like I really love this demo. I really love what he and Mark are talking about. What should I do to get started? I don't do anything right now. All I do is maybe ask Gemini a question about like what I'm going to cook over the weekend, but I don't do any programmatic AI stuff. Where do I start today?
Boom. And you're a developer.
But I'm a developer though, yeah.
If you're a developer, I always tell people start where you are. If you are writing code, if you are in your IDE, if you actually do stuff in VS Code, you know, having not only any of the agents, it could be Copilot, it could be what
Yep.
have you.
Yep.
Having something that lives in your IDE and actually using it gets you at least familiarized with the process of what is a generation, what actually comes out of ChatGPT. Like if you don't know that, images don't regularly come out of ChatGPT. You can't get a form or a chart to regularly come out of
Mm.
ChatGPT. That is something my cousin had to realize. He was trying to make a form. You can't do that. What would you have to do is write the text for an Excel sheet or an Excel something, and then upload that, and then press the button on Excel to make a chart. Like, yeah, you do
Mhm.
those steps, or give it some MCP tools where it can now generate a chart. But those extra steps, you never get there if you don't start taking those first ones. Like if you never see a Claude generation, if you don't know like what it would be like if I asked it, hey, can you just make this API integration? You'll find out actually it can, but it'll do it in the absolute wrong way. Like
Mm.
the exact way you didn't think it would do it. Yeah, that's gonna come up with the way that exactly you didn't think. That's exactly what it's gonna do, and you have to know like and be used to that. Like it's really
Yeah.
hard to get that familiarity when you don't use the tool.
Oh, that's
Uh,
true. That's
uh,
true. That's a really good insightful point. So first they start there. Like start using the tools,
yeah,
start get familiarizing yourself with the outputs
yeah,
and capabilities. So if I were to add a second step, after that, I would say don't be afraid to do something like get a Gemini API key and start writing some simple features, right? So how can you enhance your applications with AI?
yeah,
Right? Like what's the thing you could do for your users that you couldn't do before? Like something small. Like you don't have to go to, if you're not ready for MCP yet, okay, fine, just use the standard AI like SDK. Just build something though, right?
yeah,
Like I think the first step, like you said, is to get familiar with what's possible with the capabilities. Then I would say just build something small.
yeah.
Build something small, and then go from there. You know what I mean? Like I don't love a chat bot that can't do anything, but that's an okay place to start if you don't know what
Boom.
to do, right? Like, how do you send a request from your web app to Gemini? And then how do you get data back from
Yeah.
Gemini, right? Like, how do you do that? Get that working. Then, you keep going from there.
Boom. I 100% agree. I'm always trying to get people to take those first few steps. I usually find the people who take those first steps will, take the second and the third steps. I don't have to spoon feed them 30 steps, but
Right.
it's really hard to get people to take the first step, use the tool, like actually go in and try it. It's not going to work. And I guarantee if you press it a couple more buttons on presses, the third time it will work. Like
Hmm.
it's statistics. It will work if you press it enough times. So I always say, please get your button presses in. Like
Get
I'm,
those
I,
button presses in. I like
I
that language.
yeah,
Get
I'm
button
I'm
presses
a
in.
thousand to two ten thousand. No, if we're just talking about raw generations, I'm way past 10,000. Like I'm
Right.
doing it programmatically. So like sometimes, at least back in the day, 2 to 3 years ago, I would
Hmm.
come in and look at thousands of images that was generated throughout the day and literally delete them because most of them, the eyes are messed up. Oh, the hands are, oh, but this one out of 10,000, masterpiece,
Right.
absolutely immaculate. All it took was sifting through 10,000 images. And that's text, that's code. You could have done that with anything. Theoretically, it could have popped out the perfect code if
Yep.
you were willing to sit there and press the button enough times.
Wow.
So
Man.
that's what I tell people. If you really believe that it's stats, it's picking the next number, and you could have pressed the thing again, and you could have got different numbers, different words, different generation. Press it again. Maybe it would have worked this time. Maybe the 10th time was the golden time. Like, understand, it's just shooting and trying to get close, and sometimes it's on the money. So please check
Yeah.
it out if
And you're
you're.
gonna learn something. Right? Like that's the big thing. Going through everything you're talking about, you're gonna learn something.
Yeah,
And that's what you need to do. That's what everybody and I really hate to say everybody should learn about AI, but we're kind of at that point where it doesn't make sense to not know
yeah.
about it. Not
Boom.
necessarily you have to use it in your, don't, fine. You might have a mission critical application where any of the like AI, what's that first thinking about where the non-deterministic nature of
Yeah.
like some of the model output. You may be working on a nuclear reactor and you're like, I can't risk that it, outputs the wrong thing this time, but you should know what's possible. Is there anything else it could do to help improve not only your system but improve your workflow? Because again, in my mind, I keep thinking of like AI as like a super suit that I get
Uh,
to wear versus a Android replacement for me so I can sit on the beach. I don't see it that way. I see it as like, man, look at this super suit. I get to take my creativity, my mind, my intelligence, and now I get to amplify my output. Right? That's interesting to me versus like, oh, you go do it, I'm gonna sit on the beach. I mean, sure, at some point I want to sit on the beach, but not like that. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like not like that.
I 100% agree and understand. Even if what I usually say is, and it's free. Like, try
Yeah.
the demo. Like, all those things are free. You can go try them out.
Yep.
And they help not only on the developer side, but on the product side. I love this because, like, when you get the API integrations wrong, it'll be like, hey, I think you got something wrong. Here's a form. It's probably this. Input what you should have put. Or
Yeah.
maybe I could just do it for you. Press the
Right.
continue button here. Like, having an AI that can give you interface rather than me having to read all of this. Because I have another demo where I show like my mom and my dad doing this, and they literally don't read any of the text. They just interface with the stuff. They see a button. They know what a form looks like. They know what a button press looks like. So
Wow.
lots of
Okay.
text ChatGPT spat out. They only interface it with the charts, the buttons, the things that they already know the logic to, and they
Yep.
spat out the information that they were looking for. Doing that for users at scale is
Woof.
something I already know Google and the Angular team is used to, and hopefully we'll hear a lot more from them. Please, y'all, if you haven't already, please get connected with the MarkTechson. Absolutely love having him on, not only whether it be on actual live streams, but just talking to him. Please, if you haven't already gotten connected, make sure you get connected to some of the great people we'll be talking to today and throughout the weeks. Thank you so much, Mark, for being here. I appreciate it. I was thinking about having like one question that I leave people with,
Sure.
that I ask you. So I will ask you this one question. Uh, if you had just started, like it was fresh off the boat, no development, but we're trying to get into development in this day of AI,
Mm-hmm.
how would you start? Where would you start? And when would you start learning about MCP? Because I always see that there's all of these trendy things, and I always hate to tell people, oh yeah, by the way, don't even check all of this out. You shouldn't see any of this. Go to Free Code Camp. You should actually
Right.
be reading HTML and CSS and JavaScript,
Uh-huh.
while I play with these cool things all day. Um, So I'm always asking, when do you think other people who aren't developers, who are trying to get into these things,
Mhm.
when should they build their first MCP server? When should they get into this high level stuff? Because I don't have a good answer for them.
Well,
But I would
I
love to
think
hear
there
your words,
is a
Mark.
path though. So I think the path, if I were a new person getting into development, one, I would not feel like all hope is lost. Right. That's the first thing. I would not feel that. I wouldn't even let that feeling of fear kind of sink in, like, oh, there's no need for developers. I'm like, the people who think that, I always say people who say that developers are going to be gone are people who don't have anything to lose. They have nothing at stake. The people who are in the middle of it, like you and me, Sean, we're thinking about what we can become, right? What's the next level or evolution as an engineer? So that's what I think is interesting. But I would say first, learn how to code, right? And I would even say, look, go onto your favorite model. Like I've been talking about Gemini because I do like Gemini, of
Yeah.
course, but I work at Google. Also, give me a 3 month, like roadmap to like learning how to code. It'll probably surface a lot of like great resources that already exist, like you mentioned, free code camp, things like that. Learn how to code. I don't think it's worth it to skip learning how to code just yet. Right now, because we can't see the future, there may be a time where learning how to code at the low level may not be a requirement, right? We don't know about that yet. We do not know. However, today, as it stands, it is still valuable. Learn how to code, but then here's the slight difference. People usually learn front end and then they learn back end and then they stop. I'm saying go front end, back end. And when you're on the back end, you got to set another path, which is also like AI, like engineering, right? Like that becomes another one of your like three. So first it was two tenets: back end, front end. Now it's back end, front end, AI. And then when you get to the AI piece, as soon as you can write a function, you can write an MCP server. As soon as you can write a function, you can write an MCP server. So there's no need to like loft it up as this like holy grail of like, and
Yeah.
someday I'll get there. No, 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 no. Like back end, front end, AI engineering. Get all three of those tenets under your belt. And give yourself some time. Yeah, because here's what you're going to benefit from if you're a new person. While Sean and I are up here, like you said, trying all this like cool and weird stuff, the industry is going to settle around some things that will become the standards. And then as long as you are like on the road, you'll be able to like benefit from the fact that we know here's the right way to do things,
Yeah.
right? Like we're on the frontier right now. Like more experienced people, we're out on the frontier experiencing weird stuff. Like we don't even know what's going to happen in 6 months. But you who are coming behind us, you get to benefit from all of that knowledge, but you don't get to benefit from it if you don't start.
Boom. Get started today, y'all. Thank you so much, Mark. If y'all haven't already, please get started today. Click on the links. Go start. Go to Free Code Camp. Whatever
Yep.
your starting is for today, please do it.
Yep.
Because I'm always it always I love talking to Mark because I know this is my bubble. He gets what I'm talking about when I
Mhm.
show him amazing tools like that, and he's astounded because I was astounded when I saw it. Like that's why I'm showing people. Like, no, I don't get anything from showing you Xano. Obviously, I work at Thesys. I'm the
Right.
generative experience lead, and I absolutely love their product as well. So we'll probably be promoting that even if I wasn't working there. But disclosure, I do work there, and hoping other people will build amazing things, kind of like what we were talking about. If y'all have time to build an accessibility browser using a generative UI platform, understand there is probably a lot of people globally who would
Mhm.
absolutely love that use case.
Mhm.
We're thinking about building it out with we had some partnerships with the Humane Tech Hackathon, but there are a lot of other hackathons we're hoping we could partner with and build some of these awesome stuff because like I have lots of friends like Mark, and theoretically, me and Mark, we could have made this a thing in a weekend. We could have JavaScript it. Hopefully, we're in the day and age that two engineers could just vibe code an application that people will globally use. I guess like JavaScript, was JavaScript vibe coded? I don't know. Anyway, love to leave on those notes. Thank you so much, Mark. We'll definitely see y'all soon. Thank y'all for being here. See you in the next one.